it's also going to be looking at how we strengthen our ability to face challenges and respond in ways that make a difference. Each Suha move is like a card to play. It's like a feeling resource. So this is some of the background. I'm going to pass over at this point to Madeleine. You're going to be taking us a bit further with um, some more Suha moves. Madeleine, over to you.
Thank you, Chris. Well, so something you've already touched on, but it for me feels like a really key phrase in Suha is there's a bigger story going on here, and I have a part to play in this. And for me, that once again, it links into this me, you, and us model and the levels there, because the acknowledging that there's a bigger story going on is it that's like the us level. And then right next to that acknowledgement, having this idea that I have a part to play in this, that brings the me level right alongside, and I start to think about like, okay, how can I support myself, enable myself to play that part, and how can I also support and enable the people around me, and that's the you level. So I see this me, you, and us. It really goes through the whole of Suha, lots of the understandings and lots of the moves. For me, I a lot of this answering the question, how am I going to make it through this? It's really talking about how we resource ourselves. How can we continue to resource and nourish ourselves even in the midst of and through challenging times? And that's why I love, Chris, that you highlighted these different levels, these different purposes of Suha. Because for me, I find that Suha, it can meet me in lots of different places, in different moments. So if I'm in a moment of real challenge, the Suha moves and understandings help me to just find my way through that moment of challenge. If I'm in a slightly more resourced moment, then the moves and understandings can help me to maintain my well-being and really look towards thriving. And if I've got that basic level of well-being going on, then those the same understandings and moves can actually help me look out towards the world and enhance my change making skills. So thank you for highlighting those different things. Um, and I'd really like to introduce us all to a Suha move now to help us to get a feeling for this. And this move we call Afterglow. And it's about harvesting our memories, and it will involve looking back at something that has happened that I still feel happy about today. So that for me is the meaning of the word afterglow. For me, it's like the opposite of a hangover. It's like that actually there's an effect that has stayed over from something, and it's an effect that gives me this sense of glow inside. Um, and so I'm going to invite us all just to take a moment of reflection now and to think of something. Is there something you can think of that's happened sometime over the last few years that you still feel happy about today? And thinking again of those you, me, and us levels might be something you did. It might be something that somebody else did. Or it might have been a wider community thing that you were involved in.
I'm going to set a 2 minute timer and there'll be a bit of music in the background just while that's going. Um, Madeleine, is anything you'd like to say just before I start the timer?
No, that's perfect, Chris. Start the timer.
Okay. There we go. That's our 2 minutes. And so we're going to stop the share. Sorry, it ended rather suddenly there. I don't know if any of you were taken into a moment. I was actually, and I was also by the sea. And so that sound, I think, may have affected me. Madeline, over to you. You might have some things you'd like us to reflect on or speak about.
Hmm. So the invitation, I'm going to read out our our afterglow moments. And the invitation is just to really let yourself bask in not just yours, but all of our afterglow, these warm feelings of harvesting these memories. Um, and so to take them in and the invitation is to be aware of how your body feels as you're listening to these. We have visiting my sister, my daughter's communion. All our families and friends came together for a meal and some music, and we got lovely photos that we will treasure for a lifetime. Rebuilding and repitching my yurt from scratch after it was destroyed by a falling tree, with so much help from lots of friends. My first solo trip abroad in my car. Helping a social business client, Museum of Happiness, recalibrate their organization to be resilient in the pandemic. And they are now once again thriving. Still makes me very happy. Deciding to train as a somatic experiencing practitioner and starting the course. Being a part of various group journeys with Chris and other adventurers. My daughter's wedding at the end of all lockdowns on a beach in Harris in beautiful surroundings and weather and among lovely people. And the question I would ask, we've got one more sneaking in there, completing medical school 5th year. So yeah, for me, this feels like something that is a really key part of human experience, which we maybe don't do that much of in modern society, which is the this harvesting of the power and the joy that's there in our memories. And the question that I would ask is, how does it feel to shine the spotlight of your attention like this? So with this, it's the reaching out with our arms wide to really bring in and sense what it is we're wanting to harvest. And I say that with the first syllable, so it's like ah, da. And then when I've got those, I bring what I've harvested to my heart for glow. And so it really is a feeling for me of reaching out into my lived experience and then recalling that, bringing it to my heart. And so there's a variety of different ways that I would actually use this move. One way is it can be a really lovely personal practice that, as I was saying before, that a lot of the answer to the question of how am I going to make it through this is about resourcing ourselves. And one way that we can resource ourselves is by actually harvesting this glow from our past memories. So that's one way I'd use it. I've also found that it's a really great bonding tool and getting to know each other tool with new people to actually share that these different memories that we have. Um, and then a third way that I use it is to help guide my present and future choices. So the more that I'm actually in touch with, okay, what is it that has given me afterglow from the last few years of my life? I can go back through and see, aha, yes, these are the things. It might be that some of the things that give me afterglow, they weren't entirely easy. Some of those things that I now recognize gave me afterglow, they might have had some really challenging moments to them. And yet now looking back, I'm actually really glad I stuck with that journey and went through them. Um, and so this maybe it gives a good segue to what you could talk about, Chris, with the stories of
Yes,
happiness.
thank you. Thank you. Um, we do an 8 week online course in Suha, and in the second week, our focus is on how can you grow treasure inside yourself more valuable than gold. And in a way, we've been doing that just now, just like, are we growing the memories? We're growing our awareness of and appreciation of memories and the experience of appreciation, that is like treasure. What would your life be like without the experience of appreciation? And sure, we have certain material needs, we need those, but once those are met, having more gold and having more appreciation, appreciation is kind of what people seek with gold in a way. Um, anyway, I'm just really struck by what we've just been through. We've been through a harvesting of treasure inside ourselves, those memories that we really appreciate, but in a way that we're savoring that appreciation. And it tells us a lot about the pursuit of happiness or potential pathways to the pursuit of happiness. And I want to share screen again because I love this, by the way. This my friend Rosie Baliuzzi did these images. So afterglow, it's like we're reaching out, kind of harvesting, and then we're drawing it in. One way of thinking about happiness is basically based on having the right things in the picture of your life. There's a smiley face plus the mystery elements, whatever it is, the latest gadget or super fast this or things going well. And there's a sense of when I'm doing what I want and having what I like, that things are like we might think of my life as a happy picture. If you're going to say, what would it look like if your life was a happy picture? We might all have different things that we describe in there. But actually, when we talk about afterglow, we may be having a kind of a picture, but the picture is also part of a story. What Madeleine was talking about, reflecting on some things that weren't necessarily easy, or they might have had bad news, they might have had distress, but in a way, a bit like a story that has inciting incidents that then set the main character off on a journey, that there may be something difficult, there may be moments where it all goes wrong. But what makes the story is how the main character responds. And that leads to turning points and twists and turns. And so, what we're looking at with Suha is how do we look at our life more as a story rather than a picture? And rather than judging our life by the picture of that moment, whether it has the right things in, or feeling, less good if it doesn't have the right things in, this idea of wherever we are, whatever we face, what's the Thrutopian adventure? Where is it we want to make our way through? That life is always changing. Think we're always passing from one place to another, and it's kind of thinking about, well, what are the processes of flow that I might look back on later and say, I'm glad that happened. And so with the afterglow, you're kind of getting a sense of, well, what is the kind of life that you feel good about? And then also, what can you do today that will be a step towards that kind of life? That our power is in our choices and actions in each day. And it's kind of thinking, okay, what could I do today that would be a step um, in the direction, in turning up and turning towards the kind of life that I might feel good about when I look out on tomorrow. And the question I ask myself is, what can I do today that I'll be happy about tomorrow? What can I do today that will contribute to, be part of a larger story that a year from now I might look back and say, oh, I'm glad that happened. I'm glad I was part of that. And this idea of Suha moves, of each move is like a tiny contribution to an unfolding flow or unfolding story that helps you support this feeling of afterglow in the future.